Chapter 6, Sections 3 and 4. Learn to find percents is our objective. Our essential question, how do I find a number when the percent is known? What percent of 92 is 66? Method 1 is to set up a proportion to find the percent. We're thinking what number is to 100 as 66 is to 92. This is a really common way to set it up. Percent over 100 equals part over whole. You can see we have in parentheses is and of. So rather than thinking of part over whole, sometimes we think of is and of because those are keywords we're going to use to figure out which numbers go where. So we don't know the percent. It's always over 100. The is 66 goes in the numerator, of 92 in the denominator. Oops, excuse me. From here we cross multiply and divide. Method 2, set up an equation. Percent times the whole equals the part. We don't know the percent, but we know the whole is 92 and the part is 66. So we would divide both sides by 92 to get 0.72. What's different in method 2 is your answer is going to come out as a decimal, and you have to remember to change that to a percent, which is 72%. What percent of 140 is 21? Method 1, set up the proportion. Think what number is to 100 as 21 is to 140. So percent over 100 equals part over whole. N is representing the percent over 100. 21 is the part. 140 is the whole. If we were to set up the equation, it would look like this. Oops, excuse me. Percent times the whole equals the part. So we don't know our percent, so we could use P for the variable, times the whole, which in this case is 140, equals the part, which is 21. Either way we record this, or compute this, excuse me, we get 15%. Anna earned 85% on a test by answering 17 questions correctly. If each question was worth the same amount, how many questions were on the test? So we could use an equation, we could use proportion. So method 1 would put 85% over 100 equals, she answered 17 correctly, so that means that that must be a part of the test, and we're looking for the whole, and you can put whatever variable you want here. I'm going to put W for whole this time. Method 2, 85%, so I have to use the decimal form of it, 0.85 times the whole, which I don't know, equals the part, which is 17. If I continue with method 2, I would divide 17 by 0.85. And if I use method 1, I would cross multiply 17 times 100 and divide by 85. No matter which method I use, we find out that there were 20 questions on the test. Always make sure to check your answer and make sure that's reasonable and that it makes sense in the situation in case you had a number put in the wrong place. Four friends volunteered to cut the grass around their neighbor's house. Jay cut 23% of the grass, Amy cut 1/5 of the grass, Ken cut 31/100 of the grass, and Bryn cut the rest. What percent of the grass did Bryn cut? Because we're being asked to find the answer as a percent, we need to put them all into percentages. So we know Amy cut 1/5, which is equivalent to 20%. Jay cut 23%, and Ken cut 31/100, which is 31%. So to find out what percent of the grass Bryn cut, we would subtract from 100 all of these values. We could add them all up first and then subtract from 100, or we can subtract them all individually. It's going to give us the same result. And what we find out is that Bryn cut 26% of the grass. When solving a problem and the percent is greater than 100, which can happen, the number you are looking for will be greater than the number given, if you're looking for the part. You've now seen all three types of percent problems. This would be a good page to take a snapshot of. It gives you all three different forms: when you're finding the percent, when you're finding the percent one number is of another, and when you're finding the percent, finding a number when the percent is known. That's the end of sections 3 and 4. We'll be using proportions for almost all of this. Feel free to use the equation if that made more sense to you. Make sure your notes are completed and come with any questions that you may have.